Oh, oh my god! Holy crap! No, he was half a second, damn it! Oh my god! Why couldn't this been Talladega? With start finish lines a lot longer. He would've got. I mean, hey, congrats to Cindric. I'm happy for him, but yeah, half a second, I swear. What a way to kick off the 2022 NASCAR season. What a race that was. That was an awesome race. Awesome race. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm happy for Cindric. Don't get me wrong. I'm happy for Cindric. Like I didn't like him at first, but I've grown to like him now. I'm happy for him. But about half a second Bubba was from winning it. Blaney, why didn't you just turn Cindric? Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of MDK Racing Victory Stop. My name is Jett. Hope you're all having a wonderful Sunday night. Oh my god, what a 500-mile race that was. That was absolutely incredible. That was a lot of fun to watch. In my opinion, I mean, yeah, it wasn't too chaotic, you know, like the previous 500-mile races where they've just been absolutely mental. This was really, really good. I mean, yeah, had some crashes, but it wasn't chaotic, like uncontrollable. All right, but that was the end of the 500-mile race. There was a lot of stuff that took place that led up to that moment. So we're gonna go over everything that took place in the 2022 Daytona 500, which was a lot. So we got lots to talk about. At the start of the 500, we expected this to take place, okay? And that was the Fords. They were gonna be really strong early on in this 500-mile race, and it was exactly that. Kyle Larson, he was the leader since he started on pole. But very quickly, the Ford gang already took control of it. You had Keselowski, Cindric, Buescher, and McDowell. The top four lead the field up to the top lane near the wall of the racetrack to create a freight train. But then the inside lane started to pick up some momentum with Chase Elliott and Harrison Burton pushing each other, trying to build a second lane to challenge the Ford camp up top. And then you had all the Toyotas come down to the bottom to break up the Ford leaders. And then we had a dead heat battle between Ford on the outside and Toyota on the inside, side by side. Eventually, somehow, the Toyotas are able to build enough energy with help from Chevrolet to finally be able to get by the Fords in the outside lane. And Kyle Busch became the new leader with the top six now all Toyotas. On lap 38, the Fords pitted. 1 lap later, Toyotas and Chevy teams, they all then pitted. Then our first caution comes out, and it was an odd one. A wheel breaks off of a race car. Kaz Grala and the Money Team Racing making their debut start. He lost the wheel, and as a result of that, it created a stack up behind Grala. And you had Chase Briscoe checks up, but Austin Cindric runs into the back end of Briscoe, and he spins. Briscoe doesn't hit anything, but with Briscoe spinning and Grala losing a wheel brings out the caution. Now, because Grala lost a wheel, according to NASCAR's rulebook, if a tire is not properly secured, then the crew chief is going to be suspended for 4 races. On top of that, 2 other additional crew members will be suspended. So that was a huge, huge penalty for the Money Team, especially on their very first start. So you're already starting off way on the back end. We restart on lap 46 with Kyle Busch as the leader. Then on lap 53, Justin Haley, similar situation, loses a tire, but this one was more internal. It was like there was a real issue with, I think it was his right front tire that came off. Unlike Kaz Grala, which I'm pretty sure just the tire wasn't properly secured, Haley's issue was way more difficult than Grala's situation. But still, he lost a tire, and more than likely, his team will also serve the same fate as the Money Team did. Blaney was also having issues with the right rear of his car, trying to keep the tire intact, and it was an issue apparently with the lug nut, it seemed. But this race early on had a lot of issues that I thought was going to be kind of similar to what we saw in the Busch Clash, where in the Clash event at the Coliseum, there was a lot of transactional issues going on with the car, or with the next-gen car. And I thought with the 500, the issue was going to be tires and not them being properly secured, maybe with an issue, an internal issue with the single lug nut rule now. I thought that was going to be the case, but it actually turned out all right, because after Haley's issue, there were really no more tire problems. Kyle Busch and Denny Hamlin restart the stage 1 and 2. Then on the outside, William Byron gets help from Harrison Burton and goes to the lead and comes down in front of Kyle Busch to protect that first place position. Then Burton gets a push from Mark Truex Jr. and then Burton becomes a new race leader. Then, 1 or 2 laps later, Truex on the inside lane gets help from William Byron and he goes to the lead. And then we had our first big caution, I guess you could say our big one, takes place on lap 63. Brad Keselowski, he was a menace this whole race. Off of turn number 2, keeps pushing Harrison Burton over and over and over again, does not get off of him, and he gets turned by Keselowski, who then goes upside down. Denny Hamlin also involved. William Byron goes hard into the inside wall. Kyle Busch, Christopher Bell, Ross Chastain, and Alex Bowman, they were all involved. And you could tell leading up to that lap 63 incident that Burton, he was getting all squirrely every single time that Keselowski hit him. And I thought it was just going to be a matter of time before Keselowski turned him, and he did. Anyways, that would be the end of stage number 1. Truex Jr. would win the stage. Second was Keselowski. Third was rookie Todd Gilliland. Stenhouse Jr. in 4th. Logano rounds out the top 5. 6th, Austin Dillon. Kurt Busch 7th. 8th, Eric Jones. Chase Elliott 9th. And Kyle Larson rounds out the top 10. Now, stage 2 was pretty uneventful. We began with Ryan Blaney and Eric Jones now up front side by side. And very quickly, like what we saw at the beginning of stage 1, we go single file with the Fords once again out in front. 9 of the top 10 all from the Blue Oval camp once we got to around halfway in the race. We then fast forward all the way till 7 laps ago in stage number 2. Kyle Larson gets a good run off of turn number 4 and is able to get underneath Brad Keselowski in turn 1 and 2, gets a push from Stenhouse for the 5 car to go back out in front. But then 1 lap later, Keselowski and his former teammate Joey Logano, they then gang back up on Larson and go by him to get back up to 1st and 2nd place. Then we had a pretty fun moment at the end of stage number 2. So Chase Briscoe, after that caution earlier in the race with him and Austin Cindric, he's now trying to stay on the lead lap. Here comes Brad Keselowski in turns 3 and 4, tries to get underneath Briscoe. Briscoe puts a bold block on him. They somehow don't wreck, but Briscoe's able to stay out in front of Keselowski. Then going into turn 1, Keselowski tries to once again make a move underneath Briscoe, but Logano doesn't go with Brad. He leaves him out to dry, stays right behind Briscoe for Logano to be the race leader. And then coming to the final turn of that stage, Martin Truex Jr. gets a great launch off of the corner, gets underneath Logano, and is able to beat Logano at the line to win stage 2. So Truex and Logano the top 2, Bubba Wallace comes home in 3rd, 4th Keselowski and Stenhouse Jr. the top 5, Cindric in 6th, Buescher 7th, Harvick 8th, Larson 9th, and Todd Gilliland rounds out the top 10. Now we go on to the 3rd and final stage, and this is when things got really intense, which was expected in the 500-mile race. We expected the 3rd stage to be the most aggressive stage. Now Logano pitted again because he wanted to make sure that his tires were secure. So you had Keselowski, Wallace, and Cindric, the top 3 at the beginning of the stage. Now, just like the first 2 stages, we quickly got single file, and it was like that until 49 laps to go. We would have, I believe, our 4th caution. Off of turn 4, Tyler Reddick gets loose, overcorrects it, gets hit by Jacques Villeneuve, and collects Truex, Logano, and Kurt Busch in the process. Now, Reddick was really the only one that suffered major damage. Kurt and Logano also had some damage, but it wasn't to the extent of Reddick, and they were able to continue. And so then we restart with 41 to go with the young drivers of Cindric and Wallace now 1 and 2. And it was around this time where, my God, the pushing and the shoving got insanely aggressive. I don't know how they didn't wreck during that portion of the race. It was around, like I said, under 40 to go. You had a side-by-side battle with the Fords and Toyotas once again, with Bubba and Kyle Busch up top, and Cindric with his teammate Blaney right behind him on the bottom. And it seemed as though, like, again, it was either the Toyotas, they got out in front, they got a good push, but then the Fords would, creep back up on the inside, and then the Fords would get out in front, only for the Toyota camp of Bubba and Kyle Busch to get right back at him to even the field. I mean, it was very fun racing, insanely aggressive, and again, I don't know how they did not wreck during that portion of the race. But then with 19 to go, we got to take a little bit of a breather. It got single file once again, and this time you had Stenhouse Jr., who became a big player around this portion of the race, with around 20 or so to go. Then you had Buescher and Larson now in the top 3. And then when 10 laps ago, another big crash will take place on the front straightaway. A stack-up happens between Harvick, Buescher, and Kyle Larson. Harvick loses it, gets into Noah Gragson, who goes hard into the outside wall, collects more cars like Larson. Gillen also slams hard into the outside wall. Eric Jones and Chase Elliott all were involved in that crash. There was a short red flag for about 5 or 6 minutes before we got back to racing with 6 laps to go. Coming to 5 to go, once again, Brad Keselowski becomes a menace. Takes out Ricky Stenhouse Jr. off of turn number 4, wouldn't get off his ass, turns him, Stenhouse goes hard into the outside wall and collects Chris Buescher in the process. This sets up NASCAR overtime with Austin Cindric and his teammate Ryan Blaney out in front. But down the back straightaway, Briscoe and Keselowski are able to get even with Cindric and Blaney, but then Blaney gives a huge shot to Cindric after getting a push from Bubba Wallace. So Cindric stays out in front, coming to the final lap. Then a lot of pushing and shoving entering turn 3. Blaney gives a huge shove to Cindric to push him out in front even more. Then Bubba Wallace gets a good push from Aric Almirola behind him. He then pushes Blaney. Blaney then tries to make a move, tries to go to the outside of Cindric as they crash behind him. Cindric throws a block. Here comes Bubba Wallace at the inside. Cindric tries to block Bubba and beats him at the line as they crash behind him with McDowell, Reagan, Keselowski, and Blaney for Austin Cindric to win the 2022 Daytona 500 and I believe his 9th Cup Series start. And this happened, I believe, on Roger Penske's 85th birthday. So how about that? I think this is Roger Penske's 5th Daytona 500 victory with 5 different drivers, and it comes on his birthday. An unbelievable finish. And look at how close Bubba was to winning the 500. Oh, so close. He once again comes home in 2nd. Yeah, what a finish that was. So yeah, Austin Cindric in his rookie season wins the Daytona 500, I think joining Trevor Bayne as the only rookies to win the Great American Race. Bubba Wallace, like I said, is 2nd once again by 0.03 of a second. Oh, so close. Briscoe comes home in 3rd. Ryan Blaney once again was in position to win this race, comes home in 4th. And then Aric Almirola rounds out the top 5 in his final 500 appearance. Kyle Busch in 6th, Michael McDowell was 7th, David Reagan 8th, Brad Keselowski 9th, and Chase Elliott rounds out the top 10. How about that? In the top 10, all but 3 drivers are Ford drivers. 2 Toyotas and 1 Chevrolet. And then here, look at the rest of the field. Ty Dillon in 11th. Daniel Hemrick. Hemrick had a horrible race. He was out of contention at the beginning due to him failing inspection 3 times. He had to start the race on pit road and still somehow managed to finish in 12th. Great run for him. Truex Jr. able to rebound in 13th, LaJoie 14th, and Landon Castle in 15th. And from 16th on back, these are drivers that either were 1 lap down or multiple laps down and were involved in crashes earlier in the race. You have Buescher, Cody Ware, Daniel Suarez, Kurt Busch, and Cole Custer, the top 20. Joe Logano, Jacques Villeneuve in 22nd. Justin Haley, Alex Bowman, Austin Dillon, Kaz Grala, BJ McLeod, Ricky Stenhouse, Eric Jones, and Kevin Harvick, the top 30. And then look at the other 10 drivers. Noah Gragson, Kyle Larson, Todd Gilliland, Christopher Bell, Tyler Reddick, Greg Biffle, Denny Hamlin, William Byron, Harrison Burton, and Ross Chastain round out the 40-car field. Okay, so now that we got the race out of the way, what is my reaction from this race? So, number 1, that was one of the best 500s in my opinion in quite some time. And the reason why, it had a mix of everything. And like I said, it wasn't overly chaotic. It wasn't a mess. The issue I had with the previous 500 mile races was that near the end, they would just take their brains and chuck it out the window and just start wrecking. And we have numerous red flags, numerous overtimes. And I didn't like that. I think that ruins the race. This one, it had 2 or 3, it had 3 big wrecks. And that one of them was coming to the finish line. So we really aren't going to count that. But it only had 2 really big wrecks. And it was sporadic, it wasn't, there was chaos, yes, of course, but it wasn't uncontrolled chaos, which I thought was really nice. And like I said, this had a mixture of everything. You had very intense pushing and shoving moments where cars were really close together, a lot of side drafting. Then you had some times where it was a lot more calmed down, where you saw more mental games take over of manufacturers, building, taking over on their other drivers with 4 drivers just dominating the early stages. Then Toyota comes in the mix, Chevrolet helping the Toyota camp. This race was really between Ford and Toyota, and I thought that was a really cool little storyline that took place throughout the entire race. But yeah, again, the thing that I liked about this race was that it just wasn't overly chaotic. Now, while this was a great race and a fantastic way to kick off the season, we do got some things to talk about. Number one, there was a lot of people that were questioning or at least concerned about Harrison Burton's wreck on lap 63 or somewhere around that range, where he went upside down at virtually very low speed. Now, one of the issues is that with this next gen car is that unlike in previous cars, the next gen car has a floor underneath. It's similar to what you see in sports cars or open wheel cars. The issue with that is that when a car gets sideways, air can easily get underneath it and lift the car up in the air. What I think about this is that Harrison Burton's car was turned at a very odd angle, in my opinion. I think, first of all, number one, when he was turned, his car was turned at an angle where it was impossible for the diffuser flap nor the roof flaps to open to keep the car down on the ground. On top of that, Burton got hit, I think, by Hamlin on the side. When you get hit on the side, it's kind of like a little jolt on the side of your car. When that happened, Harrison Burton's car jolted a little bit up in the air, and that little bit of pocket of air was able to just lift the car up. I think it's something that NASCAR will take a look at in the future, maybe to make some more changes to keep the cars on the ground, I should say, by modifying the floor of the race car in a bit. But me personally, I didn't view it as such a big deal as everyone was making it out to be. But what was a big deal was how Fox broadcasted this race. It was an absolute disgrace. This Daytona 500 was the great American advertisement, because I swear every 5 to 6 laps it was a commercial break. There was even a time where I think this was in stage 2 or stage 3, early on in stage 3 possibly, where there was a Toyota ad break, and Mike Joy said, instead of going to Toyota, we're gonna have like a Toyota. Instead of going to break, we're going to have a in-race advertisement by Toyota to keep the race on the air. They did that. Then literally 2 laps later, they then go to full screen commercial. It was like, what was the point of that? What was the point of having an in-race advertisement, to say, hey, we're going to stay on the air because of Toyota, when you're just going to cut to commercial 2 laps later? That makes no sense. It felt like that 70% of the race were commercials, honestly. At least the first 2 stages. I know stage 3, it was much more racing, but still, it was horrible. The Indy 500, I'm pretty sure majority, if not all of their commercials during green flag situations were side by side. Maybe 1 or 2 times it was full screen, but 90% of the time it was side by side commercials. I don't know what is it with, and it's Fox, by the way. They completely oversold the 500, in my opinion. The 500 as a whole is being completely oversold, that there are so many ad spots that you can just pick in. And of course, the 500, it's a big event. Of course, they're going to take up those spots. But I don't like it that Fox allowed for so many advertisement spots to take place. Now look, I get it. Fox, they pumped a lot of money into NASCAR and they need advertisements to help make money. I get that. But, I mean, what? Come on. Really? Every 5 to 6 laps you need to go to commercial? Like, I can understand maybe 10, 20 laps, or 20, 30 laps. But not 5 or 6 laps. Like, come on, give the race a time to breathe a little bit. And the onboard cameras. That first race that I showed you on lap 63 when Harrison Burton was upside down, yeah, I'm showing you the replay of it. The actual race, like what we saw live, we got a shot, I think it was Hamlin's or Byron's front nose camera. And all we saw was them spinning. We didn't know what happened. We didn't even know that Burton was upside down. We didn't know who else was involved. We just saw Byron's car turn left and go into the wall. We saw Busch also involved, but that was it. We didn't know that, oh wait, Burton was involved? He was upside down? Like, the amount of onboard cameras were ridiculous. Now, I will give NASCAR or Fox credit. They didn't zoom in as much, which was good. But you gotta chill with the onboard cameras. You don't need that. If you want to use it for replays, cool. But you don't need it for live shots, at least not every freaking lap. If you're going single file, if there's a single file race, there's no need for an onboard camera. There's no need for that, okay? Especially, what's the point of having a front nose camera at Daytona, where, if anything, if you want to get good shots of it, you get, the 2 wide, 3 wide racing of the pack. That's what fans want to see. They don't want to see a driver's ass that takes up 90% of the screen. I know I'm venting way too hard, and I don't care if I'm being too invested into this. It was just ridiculous, Fox's coverage of it. The only thing that was good about it was the booth of Mike Joy, Clint Boyer, and Tony Stewart. They're a great duo, or a great trio, I should say. That was the only good part about it. Everything else was just pure garbage. But another good thing I will say about this race, not only was the race really fun to watch, but the crowd, the energy leading up to that race. I have never seen this many people this hyped, excited for a NASCAR race, even for the 500, ever. And I've been watching NASCAR since 2009, and I haven't seen people be that hyped up for a race for the 500. So that was awesome to see. Had 150,000 people or 140,000 people sold out at Daytona. I mean, the atmosphere was incredible. The race, really fun to watch. This, in my opinion, this was the best 500 in a few years. Maybe not in a decade. I wouldn't go that far, maybe. But still, in quite some time. This was an awesome 500-mile race to watch. Again, you had everything. You had a lot of pushing and shoving, a lot of intense moments, a lot of good blocking, a lot of mental games, a lot of a good storyline between which manufacturer will rise up. You had crashes that weren't, again, chaotic, uncontrollable. Like you expect crashes in a race. Yeah, that's normal. But it was crashes, but still it wasn't absolute chaos. So yeah, I am very happy with this race. Fox, you need to get your shit together. I'm sorry, but I had to say that. I mean, their coverage was ridiculous. But overall, I think this was a fantastic start to the 2022 season. I cannot wait for Fontana, but I mean, that finish. Ooh, look, some people are going to give some crap to Cindric. Honestly, I don't blame him. It's for the Daytona 500. What do you expect him to do? I don't care who's on the outside. You put him in the wall. You block him for a 500, for the Daytona 500. I don't care who it is. So I don't blame Cindric for doing what he did. It's kind of funny that there were people out there that were saying that this year's Daytona race was going to be like 2013. A lot of single file racing, maybe like even 2000 or 1999. No, NASCAR, in my opinion, you've hit it with the package. I think this package is awesome. There are some tweaks to it. Maybe it's, maybe not so that you don't lose the draft so quickly would be the only thing I would say. But other than that, I love the package. It's honestly, I think it's the best package since 2012. It's got a mixture of everything. And this race was a mixture of everything, and that I love. But yeah, that is it. Thank y'all so much for watching the 2022 Daytona 500 post-race show. What are your thoughts on this race? I loved it. I'd give it maybe 8.5 out of 10. I mean, there were some boring moments. There were, a good portion of single file racing, but that was expected considering how strong Ford was. But I thought this was a really solid race. B+, A- 500 race. I loved it. I cannot wait for next weekend at Fontana. Congratulations to Austin Cindric and Team Penske winning the 500 in the 2 car, which I find so hilarious that the first year that Keselowski leaves Penske, his replacement wins the race. It's like, life is funny sometimes, but yeah, that is it for this episode. What did you guys think of the 500? Did you like it? Did you not? What are some takeaways that you took from that event? But until next time, my name is Jett from MDK. Thank y'all so much for watching. Congratulations to Austin Cindric, the 2022 Daytona 500 champion.